everybody. Thank you, and welcome to tonight's City Council formal meeting. We are happy to have you here, and if you're joining us online, we're happy to have you joining us virtually. We hope that you'll continue to participate in whichever manner you feel most comfortable. To start off, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again. Before we move through the agenda, I'm going to explain our updated general comment registration process and remind everybody about the rules of decorum for council meetings. Individuals may register to comment on scheduled public hearing items until the hearing is closed. For the general public comment section, we will accept signups until 7:30 p.m. The general comment section has been changed to a total of 1 hour per meeting. If you're here to give general comments, not everyone who signed up may be able to speak. To help make the most of the 1 hour comment time, we have these meeting rules designed so that we can conduct city business, ensure that the meeting is safe and orderly and free from intimidation. The following rules help us maintain that safe and welcoming environment for everyone to participate. These are our rules of decorum. In this meeting and moving forward, there will be no warnings if anyone is not following the rules, and we will immediately direct you to leave the meeting. To keep our reactions from affecting your ability to share your opinion freely, council members refrain from reacting or responding to allow everyone to share their opinions freely. When making your comments, please address the body and not any individual elected official. Council staff is available during and after the meeting to help with any questions or information sharing. Avoid the use of threatening and discriminatory language. Do not insult others based on religion, ethnicity, race, color, gender, sexual orientation, or physical ability. Whether you agree or disagree with someone's comment, clapping, cheering, shouting, booing, snapping, gesturing, obstructing, or discouraging others from commenting is not allowed. The full meeting rules are listed at the door, and our staff will provide a link to those of you joining us in Zoom. Our first item of business on tonight's agenda is item A4. The council will consider adopting a joint resolution with Mayor Mendenhall recognizing March 31st, 2024 as International Transgender Day of Visibility in Salt Lake City. I will now read the resolution. A joint resolution recognizing March 31st, 2024 as International Transgender Day of Visibility in Salt Lake City. Whereas International Transgender Day of Visibility is an annual event celebrated on March 31st, serving as a moment to honor and recognize the diverse experiences of transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming individuals globally. And whereas Salt Lake City reaffirms its unwavering commitment to championing the rights, dignity, and equality of transgender and gender-diverse individuals across all communities. And whereas transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming individuals have significantly contributed to the cultural fabric of Salt Lake City and Utah, enriching our society through their activism, advocacy, and authentic self-expression. And whereas the representation of transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming individuals in various forms of media has increased, shedding light on diverse identities and highlighting substantial contributions to the arts, science, education, entertainment, and various other fields. And whereas amidst recent legislative efforts across the nation and Utah targeting transgender youth and the heartbreaking loss of individuals such as Next Benedict, it is imperative that Salt Lake City stand in solidarity with the transgender community and actively promote inclusion, acceptance, and celebration. And in light of recent legislation targeted to exclude transgender youth, which poses severe threats to the rights and safety of transgender and gender-diverse individuals, particularly impacting public accommodations and increasing risks for those incarcerated, affecting all transgender individuals in Utah, irrespective of age, educational attainment, criminal justice involvement, or socioeconomic status. It is critical that we as a city come together to celebrate our transgender community, and whereas International Transgender Day of Visibility provides an opportunity for communities worldwide to acknowledge and honor the accomplishments, resilience, and leadership of transgender individuals, and whereas transgender individuals face significant barriers related to social determinations of health, leading to economic inequality, mental health challenges, and limited healthcare access. Research by the National Institute of Health highlights that stigma, discrimination, and societal exclusion are pivotal in causing adverse health outcomes, including cardiovascular diseases, mental health issues, and reduced life expectancy, calling for comprehensive strategies to enhance their health and economic conditions. And whereas transgender individuals, especially those from BIPOC communities, encounter compound discrimination and notable economic disparities, necessitating concerted efforts to achieve genuine inclusion and equity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City officially designate March 31st, 2024 as International Transgender Day of Visibility in Salt Lake City, recognizing the importance of this day in fostering understanding, respect, and inclusivity. Be it further resolved that Salt Lake City commends the bravery and perseverance of the transgender community in their ongoing struggle for equal rights and recognition, affirming their inherent worth and dignity. Be it further resolved that Salt Lake City encourages residents to mark International Transgender Day of Visibility by engaging in educational activities aimed at dispelling misconceptions, eradicating discrimination, and fostering a more inclusive and supportive community for all individuals, regardless of gender identity. Be it further resolved that Salt Lake City commits to policy initiatives aimed at eliminating the gender minority pay gap, countering discrimination, and safeguarding the rights and safety of transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming individuals with special attention to public accommodations and justice system involvement. And be it further resolved that Salt Lake City encourages participation from all community members, especially those from underrepresented groups, in the International Transgender Day of Visibility and its events. This fosters an environment of inclusivity, raises awareness about the challenges faced by transgender individuals, and bolsters collective efforts against discrimination. I will look for a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Petro and a second from Councilmember Dugan, right? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And any abstentions? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. And the groups that we've invited here to accept the resolution, if you want to come join us up here, we're going to take a picture and we have some resolutions to share with you.
Come up here, we get better pictures. It's easier for picture angles up here. Pull it up.
Mayor Mendenhall, members of the council, thank you so much for this resolution. My name is J.C. Thornton. I am the executive director at Project Rainbow. My pronouns are she, they. And I'm really pleased of the adoption of much of the language that I suggested. As an MSW student and clinical intern, I talked to many of my clients, all of which are trans, all of which have felt the weight of recent legislation that is encumbering us. In spite of the criminality of using restrooms being removed from such legislation, we fear what's to come. We fear that youth and adults are being criminalized for our identities. We are terrified of what I would call the transgender to prison pipeline. Having worked in the space of early trauma to prison pipelines, I understand what this will lead to if we don't take a stand. And I know the city, I appreciate the efforts that have been made over the years to stand behind trans people. And I'm excited as the executive director at Project Rainbow to engage with you and to find novel and creative ways to continue to fight and stand for our community. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate you.
Mayor Mendenhall, amazing council members, I want to thank you for this proclamation. As a person of vast years of experience, I can talk to my experiences of when visibility wasn't even a thing. And as someone who came out later in life, visibility is what gave me that strength. And in the 2010 to 2020 region, that's when we saw a lot of transgender individuals start to come out because our visibility became greater. Role models were seen, policies and recognition such as this existed. And this allows our community and our youth to be who they are authentically and to be able to be the best person that they are, making Utah a better place. The last few years, we've seen a large pushback due to the visibility, and it is because of education. People don't understand us, so then they fear us and misrepresent who we are. So proclamations like this are very important, and the education is very important as we go forward. And just by you giving us this recognition and this visibility, the education continues. So I thank you, and I invite everybody in this room and on the Zoom to continue to learn about the transgender community, because it's through understanding that we will have good policy, that we'll have good caring, we'll have good communities. And this Saturday at the Capitol at 4 o'clock, we are going to have a rally. And then from there, we'll march down to City Creek, and we're going to have an open mic, which we often hear a lot of very amazing youth speak to their experiences. So I invite everyone to come out and let the education continue. Thank you.
You say that's on Saturday or is it on Friday? Saturday. Okay, great. Sounds great. Hope to be there. So, any other comments or questions to this? Just want to, for myself, give myself a point of personal privilege that I do a lot of work with LGBTQ clients and with transgender clients in particular, and so it's feels great to be part of a city that is so welcoming, and I hope that even in spite of the other issues that have happened in our state and nationally, I hope that you know that Salt Lake City strives to be a place that is welcoming for you and that celebrates you and appreciates all that you contribute to our city. So thank you so much. Okay, this brings us to the public hearing section of our agenda, where we hear on specific proposals the council is considering which require a public hearing, and your comments need to pertain to the hearing topic. If your comments go off topic, we will ask you to stop. This will again serve as your only warning. If you would like to if you'd like to comment on any of these public hearing items today, we are accepting comments in person and online in Zoom. You can sign up to comment until the hearing is closed. If you need to speak with our staff, please raise your hand if you're in the room, or indicate so on Zoom, and a staff person will assist you. Let's see, for those of you joining online, our staff person, Chintia Mahujun, will assist with registration and any technical issues that come up. Taylor Hill on our staff will be calling those who wish to comment based on the order we receive the names. If you are on Zoom, please unmute your mic when Taylor calls your name. Each person will have 2 minutes, and we will call on each of the people who've signed up to speak. And just as a reminder, our goal is to, again, create a safe space for everyone to share and participate in the meeting. So please follow our public comment rules when making your remarks. Disruptions and threats to anyone's safety will not be allowed. If anyone uses discriminatory language, curses, or a disruption occurs, we will pause the comments and remind you about the rules before you continue. Okay? Go ahead and move to our first public comment item, which is item B1, a grant application for the Bloomberg Center for Cities at Harvard for leading city procurement reform. We have Ben Ludke from our staff, who is going to give us a short introduction.
Periodically, the city applies for and receives grants that help fund city programs. Each of these applications is reviewed and has a public hearing, so the public has the opportunity to comment. There is one such grant tonight. It is called Leading City Procurement Reform from the Bloomberg Center for Cities at Harvard. The Division of Purchasing and Contract Management, as well as the Department of Finance, would receive training and technical assistance to elevate resource procurement as a more strategic and efficient function in the city's contracting system. There is no required local matching funds. Because this grant is time sensitive, it has been awarded. The council can consider adopting it during tonight's consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any comments to this specific grant item?
Mr. Chair, there is one person registered to speak to this item. That is Riley Hewlett, who's here in person.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Riley. I want to wholly object that the Division of Purchasing and Contract Management should receive a grant from the city that allows them technical assistance from the Bloomberg Center for Cities at Harvard. I find it completely offensive and irresponsible to promote Bloomberg by allowing a grant application for the center to be passed. While he was mayor of New York, he was responsible for spying and infiltrating Muslim American spaces in the community, including a student-led river rafting trip. While mayor, he also had many other racist and discriminatory policies, including stop and frisk. This is unacceptable to continue to promote and support this man under any circumstances, but especially during a genocide of Palestinians abroad and the attack on Muslims locally and abroad since. You may not want to claim responsibility for the genocide happening, but you can't hide behind indifference if you support this grant that will directly support a man responsible for anti-Muslim practices. Not only that, but Bloomberg donated $44 million to Israel on October 30th of last year to help Israel continue its genocide against Palestinians. He said at an AIPAC conference that no matter what Israel does, he will always support them. You also cannot remove that racist man from the center and what its training and assistance would include. First of all, his name is literally attached to the center. Second of all, he continues to justify all of his policies, including stop and frisk. The only thing the training and assistance would provide is how to be a better police state and make Utah a more racist state than it already is. The genocide happening against Palestinians by Israel affects every local decision, this one included. The Department of Finance Division of Purchasing and Contract Management should receive training and technical assistance elsewhere, preferably locally and definitely not from a center created by an incredibly racist billionaire. I urge the council to reject this grant and consider a different option unless you would like the record to show you support racist policies. Thank you.
Any other commenters? Okay, I will look for a motion.
Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and consider adopting item B1 during tonight's consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Young and a second from Councilmember Dugan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say, any opposed, say nay. Okay, we have 6-1 on that item. Okay, our next public hearing item is B2 for an ordinance for the Yellcrest Princeton Heights Local Historic District. Before we take any comments on this, I'll turn the time over to Brian Fulmer from council staff to give a short introduction to the item. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This proposal would create the Princeton Heights Local Historic District for properties on Princeton Avenue between approximately 1300 East to 1500 East in Council District 6. The proposed district is between the Harvard Heights and recently created Laird Heights Local Historic Districts in the Yellcrest neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. We'll go to our first public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will first hear from Kiwi Callie, followed by Ralph Finlayson, and then Jose Brito. Kiwi, you may now unmute.
May it please the council.
Wait,
I am
sorry. Hold on.
pardon
I
me.
think we had. Did they call you first, or was it the virtual?
All I heard was my name.
Oh, you're okay. I think you're next. They were just giving you a warning that you'll be up after this commenter who's going to speak to us virtually. So you're welcome to stay there, or you can take a seat there, whichever you prefer.
I will remain here if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. So if you'd unmute for our first commenter. Okay. While we work on that, I'm going to go ahead and let you go first, and we'll try to get the second commenter virtually. So go ahead, sir.
May it please the council. I am a retired lawyer, having served in the public sector. I live within the proposed local historic district. The Deseret News of April 10, 2010 includes a section titled Spaces and Utah Homes and Lifestyles. It describes the area of the proposed historic district as one of the valley's oldest and most charming, and displays on its front page a photo of one of the houses within this proposed district. The section details how this area is not isolated, but draws beneficial influences from surrounding areas of the city. Copies of that report were submitted in a prior hearing. The proposed district also contributes to people and organizations outside it. Our district provides housing for students at nearby elementary schools, high schools, and universities. Passing my house daily, weather permitting, is a parade of walkers, mostly with their dogs, including those from outside the proposed district. The closeness of this Princeton area to business districts such as downtown, Sugar House, 9th and 9th, 15th and 15th, and others makes our residents ready shoppers and customers in these various business districts. Not long ago, while biking and walking in the general area, I frequently encountered a young black man I hadn't seen before, walking up and down the streets. Then on a Sunday, walking down the aisle of the local church I attend, I came upon the same solitary soul, sitting on the end of the bench. I said, "Hi, I see you walking up and down the streets." Cheerfully in return, he says, "Yeah, I see you too." Surrounding persons and organizations benefit our area, and we in the district are pleased to reciprocate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next will be Jose Brito, followed by Tim Ermish, and then Cindy Cromer. Jose is here in person.
Okay, great.
Good evening. My name is Jose Brito, and I also live in Princeton Avenue. Just want to bring a little bit of context and some precedent to cities in the United States that have successfully preserved historical neighborhoods to maintain their cultural and architectural heritage. Here are some examples, that are very familiar examples, I believe. Charleston, South Carolina, is very well renowned for its well-preserved historical district, which features historic homes that date back to the 18th century. New Orleans, we're all very familiar with the French Quarters in New Orleans, is also a prime example of historical preserved neighborhoods with the iconic architecture and obviously vibrant culture. Boston, Massachusetts, Beacon Hills, and North End neighborhoods are notable for well-preserved historic buildings. San Francisco, I'm pretty sure that we have all visited their historic areas. And Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is also known for Adobe-style architecture and historic building that reflects city's Native American and Spanish history. Alexandria, Virginia, also Old Town. Alexandria is a beautiful preserved historic district with well-preserved 18th and 19th century buildings, waterfront views, and very vibrant arts and culture, and pretty awesome food too. The cities have put significant effort in preserving their historic neighborhood through their zoning regulations, historic preservation laws, community engagement, and ongoing maintenance and effort to protect their valuable cultural and architectural heritage for the future. Salt Lake City is moving at a very fast pace to becoming a world-class city. This is shown by the massive infrastructure investment made over the last number of years. One example is the airport, amongst many others. So I'm standing here to ask this council today to allow us to continue to make progress, to move forward and maintain.
Next will be Tim Ermish, followed by Cindy Cromer, and then Soraya Toronto. Tim's here in person.
Mayor Mendenhall, members of the City Council, good evening. My name is Tim Ermish. I've lived in Utah for 22 years. I currently live in a 2-bedroom English Tudor home on Princeton Avenue that was built in 1926. Princeton Avenue is the center of the Elkcrest neighborhood. It's an area that was platted in 1889, which predated the automobile era and established a walkable, pedestrian-friendly design. A historic designation preserves these existing homes on Princeton Avenue. They were all completed in the 1920s, and they've been maintained to the original craftsmanship, which minimizes the environmental impact associated with demolition and new construction, conserving both energy and materials. I grew up in Queens in a similar neighborhood of century-old homes. What happened over the decades without protection of these historic districts was the demolition of these homes, which were replaced by much larger McMansions on these lots and also lesser quality construction, which did not stand the test of time and weather. Preserving these structures showcases the durability and efficiency of historic construction methods. These homes have withstood over 100 years, serving as a model for sustainable building practices. As in many of our great cities, historic districts attract tourists who enjoy the unique character and authenticity of a time ago, which contributes to the local economy. In conclusion, designating Princeton Avenue as a local historic district emphasizes the importance of preserving its historical and architectural legacy while embracing sustainability principles, supports existing walkability, and fostering community engagement. In summary, I believe Princeton Avenue can serve as a model of balancing heritage conservation and environmental responsibility. Thank you.
Next will be Cindy Cromer, followed by Soraya Toronto, and then David Nelson. Cindy's here in person.
Hi, I think all of you know that I've invested in Central City, the Bryant neighborhood, and City Creek, not this neighborhood, but I'm here to speak on its behalf. There were 2 times during 2023 when I sat in the audience at the Planning Commission and wanted to applaud the neighbors who were speaking, knowing that I couldn't clap. One was a project north of North Temple, which will never reach you. I will talk about that one at a future time. The other one was the hearing on Princeton Heights. The Planning Commission had already sent a negative recommendation on Laird Heights, the next street over. The supporters of the new historic district for Princeton Heights could have shown pretty pictures of the houses and the trees. They did not. Instead, they pivoted and made comments which consistently and thoroughly rebutted the Planning Commission's recommendation on Laird Heights. From my perspective, it was glorious. I wanted to applaud. The supporters were so effective that one of the planning commissioners said that the proposal met all of the requirements. Indeed, so did Laird Heights. As I have said repeatedly, the demolition of houses in Yale Crest results in the construction of even more expensive housing. Just Green donated his time as a member of the mayor's task force on affordability to demonstrate that incentives were unlikely to be effective in a neighborhood like Yale Crest. I urge you to suspend your normal rules and adopt this ordinance this evening. Thank you.
Next will be Soraya Toronto, followed by David Nelson, and then Paula Harline. Soraya's here in person.
Mayor Mendenhall, City Council. My name is Soraya Toronto. I live at 1465 Princeton. I am a mom. My youngest is just finishing at East High School, and I am proud to serve on the board of the Salt Lake City Public Library. I am also a nomad. I've lived in 9 countries, plus Puerto Rico, 8 of the world's capitals, and 10 US states. So when I moved here 8 years ago from Seattle, I had little appreciation for the notion of place. Whenever I encountered people who lived in one place their whole life, I felt claustrophobic, and I couldn't understand how they weren't bored. Shortly after arriving in Salt Lake, I met an elderly woman who had lived within a few blocks her whole life, and I just couldn't fathom that. And then I learned that my great-grandfather, Albert Toronto, built many of the homes in the 1700 block of Princeton. As someone defined by my rootlessness, in one instant I had ties to this place, which was very disorienting. Prior to 2016, rootedness was a foreign notion to me, but its meaning and value have gradually become clear over the last 8 years as I have walked and run and biked the streets of my neighborhood, raised my children, created friendships, chatted with neighbors or passing strangers. Living my life has etched the contours of my neighborhood into me, one line at a time, until now it is a part of me and I'm a part of it. And while I still can't quite fathom living within a few block radius for a lifetime, I can now appreciate the richness, the stability, the comfort of a rooted life tied to a place that provides constancy amidst a world characterized by change. This local historic district isn't just about our neighborhood, but about our city. It is about making sure we have a way to preserve neighborhoods and communities such as Glendale and Rose Park, neighborhoods with rich histories and communities that should also be preserved. And I urge you to approve this application. Thank you.
Next will be David Nelson, followed by Paula Harline, and then Riley Hewlett, and David's here in person.
Thank you. My name is David Nielsen. I live at 1401 Princeton, and you've seen me before. You saw me last time. I spoke about the Laird Local Historic District, and because I have 2 rental properties for low-income housing on that street. But I also live on Princeton Avenue. That's my principal residence. And I've been working on restoring this home built in 1927 by Irvin Jackson for 5 years. And we're not there yet, but we're getting there. And it is a beautiful home. And I want to thank you for your process. I want to thank you for your support, especially on Laird with a unanimous vote. And I want to thank you for your speed. It's been a long way coming to get here, but you've done your part and we've done our part. And I look forward to the vote for Princeton Heights also. I just wanted to speak a little bit on sustainability. Using older buildings and houses and making them more energy efficient plays an essential role in meeting our community's goals for sustainability. And maintaining a robust recycling program is a core function of Salt Lake City's sustainability department. And their principles are reduce, reuse, and then recycle. And as a preservationist, I might add repair. Reduce, reuse, recycle, and repair. Conserving homes and buildings does all 4. And it reuses what we already have, it recycles and repairs materials, and it greatly reduces greenhouse gases by keeping many tons of material out of landfills and reduces the need for new construction. I encourage you all to vote in favor yet again. Thank you.
Next will be Paula Harline, followed by Riley Hewlett, and then Jessica Gwynn. Paula's here in person.
Hi, my name is Paula Harleen. I'm a retired English teacher of 34 years, and I am the primary applicant for the proposed Yale Crest Princeton Heights Local Historic District. I believe that local historic districts can help the city reach its goals, and here are two ways. First, ordinary citizens like me get to learn from the Historic Landmarks Commission, the Planning Commission, the City Council, and even the mayor. And this process has taught me to care about neighborhoods outside of Yale Crest and advocate for them as well. Because of my neighborhood work, I was appointed to the Preservation Utah Board of Trustees, specifically working on the Advocacy Committee's Endangered Places list. We are currently working to preserve West High School, Wellsboard Chapel, our Salt Lake City historic districts, along with Rose Park, Glendale, and Fair Park. This is an example of how preservation work can connect communities. Second, as we prepare for the Olympics and promote our travel industry, our economic life depends on preserving our oddity and one-of-a-kindness. Our city's greatest economic asset is its rarity. Tourists want to see an unusual American immigrant story here. LDS pioneers, Catholics, Jews, Muslims, and railroad workers and miners in places like Swedetown, Greektown, Japantown, and Latin American neighborhoods, living together, sometimes struggling against each other, but also learning to understand each other. In the process of defining our story for visitors, Salt Lake residents themselves increase their neighborhood pride. In conclusion, the preservation process to save one street has grown my love for all Salt Lake City neighborhoods and increased my desire to help balance growth with preservation. Thank you.
Next will be Riley Hewlett, followed by Jessica Gwynn. Riley's here in person.
Okay. Any other commenters? Yeah, okay.
I'm Jessica Gwynn. I don't know where Riley Hewitt is. Hello, everyone. I, like many who have spoken tonight, am also a neighbor on Princeton Avenue. An article in the Salt Lake Tribune last week caught my attention. It said that Salt Lake will spend $3 million renovating the Fisher Mansion, built in 1893 on the banks of the Jordan River for a German immigrant brewer. The city bought the mansion located at 1206 West, 200 South in 2006 with the object of preserving the home from encroaching development. The city's website states that the preservation of historic structures supports its master plan by, quote, preserving our stories. I was delighted for the reminder of our city's commitment to telling our culturally rich and diverse history by preserving the work of those who built these communities. Historic structures throughout our city inspire conversations and introspection about community values, change, and opportunities to build upon the foundations which others have left. Princeton Avenue is full of historic homes which serve a similar purpose. I grew up in Riverton, but when I was old enough to drive, I went to the streets of Yale Crest and wandered. They were like a public park to me, and in the canopy of those giant elms, surrounded by homes built by some and left for others, I recognized that the present was a thread in the fabric of a community long in the making, a fabric of which I was a part. These historic structures should be preserved to tell our stories. Architecture is public art which expresses beauty in unique and interesting ways. Just as our community is not homogeneous,
Time.
let's not sacrifice the past for the use.
That was the final register commenter for this item.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan, a second from Councilmember Lopez Chavez. All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, that passes unanimously.
May I have just a second for personal privilege?
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Dugan.
And I just wanted to say my thanks to the community and in general, a wonderful job on your engagement and your work on understanding this, and also kind of like raising your own awareness of the importance, but also raising the city's awareness on the importance of preserving our historic structures and our history in general. So thank you very much from the engagement side, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to our next public hearing, which is item B3. This is for an ordinance to rezone the property at approximately 756 South Montgomery Street. Before we start taking comments, I will turn the time over to Brian Fulmer, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give us a short introduction.
There's a proposal to amend the zoning map for the approximately 1/2 acre city-owned parcel in Council District 2 from its current R1 5000 or single-family residential zoning to RMF 30 or low-density residential. The change would allow additional density on the site.
All right, thank you. Would you mind closing that door? Are there any public commenters?
Mr. Chair, first we will hear from Sean McMillan, followed by Riley Hewlett. Sean is here in person.
All right, thank you. No.
I'm sorry, I missed the agenda. It's for B3.
Oh, okay.
No, that's what we're on.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
B3.
You're right. Yeah, it's your South Montgomery property.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to, this concerns the 44 North project that First Step House and Housing Connect are working on. And we just wanted to thank staff as well as council, as well as the mayor's office for all the work that they've done to help us move this forward. If there are any questions, Janice Kimball and I are both available to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is Riley Hewlett.
I ask that the council include stipulations with any new zoning ordinance that allows construction that the new construction has to be at minimum ADA compliant. All future construction for any building, including housing, should meet ADA requirements. Not only because it's likely we will all become disabled at one point in our lives, but because once the genocide in Gaza ends, we will see a mass amount of Palestinian refugees, many of whom will have been made disabled by the genocide, which has been termed a mass disabling event. In December, it was reported that over 5,000 Palestinians in Gaza had been made disabled since October 7th due to Israelis' attacks. I cannot even begin to imagine what that number is now. Yet another local issue that connects with the genocide happening against Palestinians. Disabled people that live in our state now also don't have access to a variety of housing options. Not only that, but ADA regulations help able-bodied people as well, who wouldn't want handlebars to avoid slipping in the shower, who hasn't used the push button to open the door when their hands are full. It would also take the burden off families and children who are born with disabilities so that families have an accessible place for their children and children do not have to rely on a caregiver in that way. Again, I ask the council require ADA in any new zoning ordinance that allows construction.
That was the final register commenter for this item.
That was a final comment.
Yep, okay. We'll go now to item B4, which is an ordinance.
Vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Thank you. I'll look for a motion.
I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Petro, a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor vote aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Okay, seeing none, that passes unanimously. Now we will go to item number B4, which is an ordinance amending the library budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Before we take any comments, I'll turn the time over to Ben Ludke from council staff to give us a short introduction. Thank you, Ben.
The budget amendment would provide $1.3 million in additional funding to complete the main library roof renovation project. Construction is underway and scheduled to be completed this summer or fall. There are two sources for the additional funding: $157,000 of reappropriated funds from smaller capital improvement projects, and $1.1 million from the library's savings account called Fund Balance. The additional $1.3 million would bring the total roof renovation cost to $8.7 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any public comments to this item?
Mr. Chair, we have Riley Hewlett, who is here in person.
Okay.
I love libraries. I grew up going to libraries and think they deserve funding and definitely support the council's choice to include additional funding. I do want to point out that the $1.3 million in additional funding could easily be covered by the over $3 million alone Salt Lake City gives to Israel per year, or the over $31.8 million that Utah gives to the Israeli military per year. I also recommend that while you pass additional funding to the library budget, you actually go to the library and pick up a book. That's how I've become informed. I have several recommendations if you want any.
That was the final registered commenter for this item.
Okay. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt an order amending the fiscal year 2024 final budget of the Salt Lake City Library, including the employment staffing documents, only for items as shown on the motion sheet.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a very eager second from Councilmember
Very much so.
Any discussion to this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't know if you finished voting, so there's a little delay on the eagerness as well. So if you finish voting, I would like to ask for a moment.
Sorry, were you asking to make an amendment to the motion?
No,
Oh.
no, I'm asking for a moment of privilege after you finish voting.
Oh, okay. Point of personal privilege. Okay, let me just say, were there any no votes? Okay, I didn't see any. Councilmember Puig, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to thank the library staff for the work that they've been doing and to try to keep our libraries open while the construction is going. Our libraries are more than just libraries. We try to connect everybody with services and the librarians and the staff doing incredible work and helping our patrons connect with resources. It's humbling to see the work that is being done in our libraries, and I just wanted to thank them for this work.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to our final public comment, which is for item B5. This is an ordinance that would rezone the property at 2260, 2270, and 2290 East and 1300 South. Before we take any comments, I will turn the time over to Brian Fulmer, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give a short introduction.
Mr. Chair, the council continued the hearing from its February 20th meeting for this proposal. It would rezone the properties you mentioned in Council District 6 from their current R1 7000 or single family residential zoning to CB or community business. No development plans have been submitted at this point, but it is anticipated that the properties would be developed along with adjoining properties to the south for multifamily housing or mixed use.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comments to this item?
Mr. Chair, we will hear from Riley Hewlett, who's here in person.
I once again ask that any rezoning ordinance that allows construction have the stipulation that the building must be ADA accessible, including residential. Any new construction in the city should meet ADA accessible requirements. Again, I ask this not only because it's like we will all become disabled at one point in our lives, but because of the mass disabling event and genocide happening in Gaza that will procure a lot of Palestinian refugees that have been disabled. I also urge that the council require multifamily housing and affordable housing in this rezoning. Again, I ask the council require ADA in any new zoning ordinance that allows construction, and for this particular ordinance, a requirement of housing, preferably low-income affordable housing.
That was the final registered commenter for this item.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan, a second from Councilmember Young. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Okay, this brings us to potential action item C1. This is an ordinance that would amend the zoning map and general plan announcement or amendments at approximately 2445 South, 500 East, the Woodland Commons. I will look for a motion.
I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Petro and a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. All right, that passes unanimously. We are on item C2, which is an ordinance that would rezone and an ordinance that would rezone and amend the master plan at 803, 805, 807, and 815 West Simondi Avenue, and 802, 806, 810, and 814 West 300 North. I'll look for a motion.
I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Petro, a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, that passes unanimously. We are now on our final item, which is C3. This is a resolution authorizing the Salt Lake City Housing Authority to operate within Salt Lake City for the deeply affordable housing development 44 North Apartments. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council adopt a resolution authorizing the county housing authority to operate within Salt Lake City for the development known as the 44 North Apartments, including ongoing rental assistance.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilmember Petro. Is there any discussion to this? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. All right, that passes unanimously. We are now to section D of our agenda, which is comments to the mayor and city council. Does anyone have any comments for the mayor tonight? Mayor, thanks for being here. Okay, we'll move to the second part, which is the general comments portion of our agenda. We welcome your comments on any item of interest. If you're joining us after 7:30 and missed the opportunity to sign up, staff has written comment cards for you to make. You can raise your hand and the council staff will assist you with that. We recently had several members of the public who had to leave our meetings without commenting or participating due to feelings of intimidation or threats. To make everyone feel comfortable and to participate, we'd like to emphasize our rules that any behavior that is threatening, disruptive, or creating an unsafe environment will not be tolerated, and we will ask staff to assist you out of the meeting. If this standard is not being observed, we will ask for a recess. As a reminder for those joining from Zoom, our staff will moderate the Zoom messages for any questions that you have about your registration. If you need assistance, please raise your hand, and Uchintia from the list of participants who's in the list of participants will assist you. Please limit messages to technical issues and minimal information updates. Taylor on our staff will be calling those who wish to comment in order of registration or collected comment cards. If you're on the Zoom, please unmute your mic when Taylor calls your name. If you are in person, please feel free to come up and stand in line when you hear your name called. Please avoid interruptions so that we can have as many people speak as possible during our 2-hour time limit. The host will announce time at the 2-minute mark and your microphone will be muted. If you're unable to finish your comment, please share the rest via email, mail, or by calling our office. We have contact information listed at slccouncil.com. Please remember to follow our public comment rules when making your remarks. And Taylor, let's go ahead and move to our next comment, or our first comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we'll hear from Hannah Orr, followed by Jill James, and then Spencer Hardy. Hannah is here in person.
Good evening. Tonight, I would like to address the claim that passing a ceasefire resolution for Palestine is not a matter of Salt Lake City business. This is something I've heard several times as a defense and justification for ignoring the high volume of constituent comments in support. To do this effectively, I'm going to borrow some language from Iman Joda, who is a House representative from our neighboring state of Colorado. Joda said, city council members share their constituents with their congressional delegations. Their obligation, at the very least, is to resist Islamophobia, anti-Arab sentiment, and anti-Semitism within their districts. Moreover, city council members possess a unique ability to be proxies for these shared constituents. This capability is vital in emphasizing the urgent need for a permanent ceasefire to their congressional delegation and ultimately the Biden administration. This dual role underscores the profound impact that pursuing and passing ceasefire resolutions can have on the core principles of democracy: equal, fair, and honest representation. As city council members, we must ensure the anti-war and anti-genocide voice, regardless of background, is acknowledged and given due consideration. End quote. If you will listen to your own constituents, I hope that you'll listen to the words of your political peer. Democracy is meant to be an endeavor that works from the ground up. We, the people, if you will, gather to express our desire for change to the political entity that is closest to us, the one that we have the greatest influence over, and you, in turn, act as an advocate on our behalf. Well, we're here, we're asking you to advocate on our behalf. The people of Salt Lake stand against genocide. We stand against Islamophobia, we stand against anti-Semitism, we stand against starving and slaughter. We want a permanent ceasefire in Palestine, and we want you to ask for it. Thank you.
Next will be Jill James, followed by Spencer Hardy, and then Riley Hewlett. Jill is here in person.
Hey, Dan, I'm going to talk to you since you're my councilman. I want to tell you about a workshop that I went to this weekend. It was on grief and loss. It was led by an amazing person who wrote the book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow. I recommend it to any of you who haven't read it already. Anyway, I learned and experienced and felt what it's like to be seen and heard and welcomed and thanked when experiencing devastation. It made me wonder, what if our political leaders treated the Palestinian people the same way? What would be different? But instead, what I'm learning is our leaders pick and choose who they want to support and demonize the other. Dan, when I met with you the first time and I asked you, when you think of Palestinian people, what was the first thing that came to your mind? You said Hamas, an organization that you believe is full of terrorists. It reminded me of a previous time when our previous president, when he made the comment that all Mexican people were rapists and drug dealers. You were appalled by him. How should those people that you perceive of terrorists feel about that? Dan, when I voted for you, I thought and believed you'd be better, that you'd stick up for those people who are not seen and unheard. But I now know that you only speak up for the privileged and the wealthy, which is what I've seen today. Please support a resolution to stop the mass murder of the innocent people. If you can celebrate Black lives, trans lives, brown lives, and people who are marginalized, I wonder why you can't look and see them and look at them in the eyes and listen to their stories. We're all at a loss. I voted you in. I won't do it again. I would have voted for every single one of you if you were in my district, because I believe.
Time. Next will be Spencer Hardy, followed by Riley Hewlett, and then Janice Kimball. Spencer's here in person.
Hi, good evening. My name is Spencer Hardy. I am the Director of Family Support Services at Primary Children's Hospital, but I'm here today representing myself as a transgender man and as a parent and as a member of District 7 and as a supporter of a free Palestine. It was an emotional thing for me as a trans person today to see you make the statement in support of Trans Day of Visibility, which is a very important day for me. But it's with a heavy heart that I say that I can't celebrate that with you all this evening, because I really don't feel like I can celebrate lifting up the voices of one marginalized community while we are actively silencing another. During our last city council meeting, you voted to restrict the voices of your constituents. When there was an outburst, understandably, because people were so upset, several of you were smiling. I would say maybe even smirking as you walked out of the room, and one of you in particular laughing. That was very upsetting to me. And reflecting on why you would have done something like that, I wonder if maybe you were uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable too. I'm uncomfortable being here tonight. The last time I was here, after that happened, the police came out, probably at least 15 police officers out of that door and surrounded us. I felt very uncomfortable. You know, many of the statements made tonight about the behavior that we must conduct in this setting, understandable, but it's been implied that people's behavior in the past has been intimidating. I felt very intimidated the last time I was here, being escorted out of the building by police officers who then watched us as we left the premises. That was incredibly intimidated, and I can only imagine how intimidating it must have been for the people of color. I realize that I'm out of time and I have a lot more to say, but I'll try to submit the rest of my statement later.
Next is Riley Hewlett, followed by Janice Kimball, and then in Canada. Riley's here in person.
At this point, you know who I am and what I'm asking for. You say you want this meeting to be a safe place. Does that actually hold any meaning for you other than silencing us? Every day this genocide continues. No place is safe for us. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. History will remember you as a historically diverse city council that ended up being only scabs and cowards. You are aware you campaigned for this. You know you can resign at any point. If you can't do the simplest part of your job, which is listening to your constituents, then resign. The sooner the better at this rate. You said we're detracting from the message by insulting you. We've tried to be nice and it's gotten us nowhere. What's left for us to say but insults when you insult us when you're in action and blatantly ignoring us by refusing to look at a speaker? Or was it because you know your complicity and couldn't bear to meet our gaze? We survive not because you do anything for us, but because we have each other. I hope you fear us, you should, not because we're violent, but because you are all nothing more than cowards. At least every 10 minutes a child dies in Gaza, and it doesn't include the most recent horrific flower massacre of those dying of hunger, thirst, or disease brought on by the apartheid state. While you whine about respectability, children die. If Israel, if Zionists, if anyone cares about the safe return of the hostages, why are they supporting bombing the very place they are being held? Israel doesn't want peace, it wants power. They say Palestinians need to be freed from Hamas. It sounds like the Jewish people need to be freed from the Israeli apartheid state and Zionist ideology that doesn't care if they live or die. Ceasefire now. You keep saying this isn't the council's responsibility. You know the U.S. also thought genocide abroad wasn't within their statutory responsibility when they turned away ships of Jewish people seeking asylum from their own genocide. Palestinians have endured over 100-year displacement, racial cleansing, occupation, and now genocide. They have had enough. We have had enough. City Council, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide.
Next will be Janice Kimball, followed by N Canada, and then Jakey Ciolo. Janice is here in person.
Hi, I am Janice Kimball. I am the CEO for Housing Connect. We are as you know, the housing authority for the County of Salt Lake. And I'm here tonight to thank you for giving us the opportunity to partner with First Step House on the 44 North project. Thank you.
And next will be N Canada, followed by Jakey Ciolo, and then Stuart Robinson. And you may now unmute.
Hi there, N Canada, District 5. Salt Lake City Council talks ad nauseum about feelings of safety in this community. I wanted to stop coming because your behaviors have made me feel unsafe. But my lineage is being massacred, so my feeling is of little consequence. I am willing to feel unsafe to fight for my people undergoing a genocide with our tax dollars. You have represented us by you responded to us by limiting city council comments, by reacting to your community with police intimidation, by lying to us, by determining that your local community wants to hurt you, by closing off your hearts, by mocking us. We desperately need community, and y'all have failed miserably in actually fostering a positive environment where community can thrive. I am considering running because I want to show our community that we can have kinder and warmer leaders. This body wants the city to be international by bringing the Olympics here again, engaging in sister cities, and welcoming people from across the globe with our airport. Yet, as Victoria says, it is not this body's statutory responsibility to comment on the Palestinian genocide. International affairs are critical for a city wanting to be a leader across this nation and the globe. We need different leadership. I will continue building community locally that empowers people with care, with more radical care, like Burning Sissy Valley and Anti-Cult Cult. I will continue exposing how our institutions are steeped in white supremacy and colonialism. I will continue to fight against Zionism that is legitimizing the mass death of my people. I care about Palestine, I care about our community, and I care about moving away from our broken system. Y'all have been exposed, and we are not going to forget how you treated your own goddamn community.
Next will be Jakey Ciolo, followed by Stuart Robinson, and then Ambreen Khan. Jakey, you may now unmute.
Hi, Telofalava. It's Jakey Ciolo, District 4. I just wanted to read a little co-op-ed or an article written by Iman Jodeh. While the U.S. and Israel find themselves increasingly isolated in their reluctance to embrace a permanent ceasefire, 70 U.S. cities have passed resolutions calling for a ceasefire. Of them, 48 cities have gone further, specifically calling out Israel's bombardment, genocide, and calling for an end to the bloodshed. Yet countless other city councils, such as Salt Lake City Council, are hesitant to entertain resolutions calling for a permanent ceasefire, arguing that foreign policy is outside the purview of city council and that municipalities' policymakings cannot affect global issues. Sadly, this argument has become one more tactic to move the goalposts instead of pushing back on outside pressure. But these issues directly affect their constituents. The increase in Islamophobia, anti-Arab discrimination, and anti-Semitism in the districts they represent as a direct result of Israel's genocide on Gaza should impact their decision to take a stance and support a permanent ceasefire. The chain of representation is essential here. City council members share constituents with their congressional delegation. This dual role underscores the profound impact that pursuing and passing ceasefire resolutions can have on the core principles of democracy, equal, fair, and honest representation. As city council members, you must ensure that the anti-war and anti-genocide voice, regardless of background, is acknowledged and given due consideration. Many of the same cities that refused to issue any resolution for a ceasefire were quick to issue statements about their unwavering support of Israel. Such was done on the mayor's Instagram. Should anti-war and anti-genocide advocates take that to mean an Israeli life is more worth than a Palestinian life? Ceasefire now.
Next will be Stuart Robinson, followed by Ambreen Khan. Stuart, you may now unmute.
Hello, my name is Oak, and unfortunately, I did not come here with extremely organized thoughts like my fellow commenters have. I am at a bit of a loss after your response to our weeks of commenting last city council meeting. You act as though you have no power, and yet as soon as your lives are disrupted in the slightest bit, you limit the power that we have. You suppress your community and that is your only response to us coming to you as your constituents, asking you, begging you to call for an end to the violence overseas. You think that it's not your responsibility, and yet as I drive to work, as I drive by the airport, several places in this state, many of them not places that we drive by commonly, are plagued with weapons manufacturers that are directly contributing to these deaths in Palestine. Utah claims to want to be an international hub, but with 47G, it's clear that the only intention there is to contribute to the imperial war machine and be complicit in all of the genocides across the world. The least that you can do is make it known that there are hundreds of people here who want no part of that and want only ask you simply to call for a ceasefire, listen to your constituents, and do your fucking job.
Okay, I'm gonna remind people about the using swear words. We do broadcast this, and so those are not allowed. Thanks.
And next will be Ambreen Khan. Ambreen, you may now unmute.
Hi, my name is Ambreen. I live in District 2. Ramadan Kareem. You know what that means? That means have a generous Ramadan. But how could I have a generous Ramadan when people in Gaza are eating grass to start and break their fast while you all are celebrating Ramadan by having a feast with the Muslim community where you're not actually engaging with folks, you're engaging with people in power? I often hear from council persons that shame is a tool of the oppressor. And I want to challenge that by saying that apathy is the tool of the oppressor. The ability to see the killing of innocent people and the theft of their land and turning a blind eye to that is exactly what colonizers do. I'm so disappointed that in this city council, you hold high regard for people and get thanked by people who hold such anti-Arab and anti-Muslim and frankly ableist views. When they call us for wearing kufias and face masks, they call us a pro-terror mob. And you say nothing. You just let it happen. And you know what? For you to believe that Judaism is a religion that is so violent that it can support a mass killing of a whole group of people for a claim of land is anti-Semitic. I don't believe that. I think Judaism, just like Islam, is a beautiful Abrahamic religion, and we're all cousins and we all want peace. We all descend from the same common ancestor. And also, I would love for you to divest and call for a divestment from the state of Israel, but I know that's not going to happen. So I'm going to ask you, especially Alejandro, you to divest from Starbucks. I see you drinking Starbucks. Starbucks donates billions of dollars to Israel. That funds this genocide. That is a small thing you can do. Boycott. I don't have any asks from you because I know you won't follow through. So I'm just asking you to even show up in your personal life, how you show up for people who are Muslim. If you're going to post about Ramadan Kareem, at least follow the generosity that comes with Ramadan. Thank you.
And that was our final registered commenter.
All right, thank you. We are at section E on our agenda, which is new business, and we have no new business tonight. So that brings us to section F, unfinished business. Item F1 is legislative action, Sugar House Business District zoning amendments and transfer of development rights program. I will look for a motion.
Chair, I move the council initiate a legislative action starting the process for city staff to research and draft an ordinance that would create a transfer of development rights, TDR, program for the Sugar House Business Zoning District.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Young and a second from Councilmember Mono. Any discussion to this? Yes, Councilmember Young.
Before we vote, if I can just clarify for the good of the community as well as council and staff, I appreciate that there is a proposal related to the property at the old Wells Fargo building on the corner of 11th East and 2100 South. The request for staff to take action on this is not expected to be delivered upon before that proposal most likely moves forward. This is looking future facing beyond just a single proposal. So just wanted to clarify that expectation of timing.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, let's go ahead. Oh, Councilmember Mono.
Not to this specific project, but I just am really excited that we're looking at this issue because I do think this tool, I won't call it an issue, but this tool, because I do think it can really help our growing city in a lot of places. So I appreciate Councilmember Young for calling for the motion and initiating this request. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, that passes unanimously. We are now at the consent portion of our agenda. I will look for a motion.
I move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan, a second from Councilmember Petro. Any discussion? None? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. Thank you. This concludes our Salt Lake City Council meeting. We will now stand adjourned.